In this video, I'll be helping you with the ALEKS problem type called rewriting a quadratic function to find the vertex of its graph. And from the instructions, we can see that we're going to be using the general form here, because once we have the general form, we'll be able to look at the quadratic, determine what value is present for h, what value is present for k, and those coordinates hk will be our vertex. So we're given g of x and we're going to try to put it in this standard form, and to do so we're going to need to complete the square. In completing the square, we can see that we'll first need to factor out that leading coefficient. So here our leading coefficient is 2. We want to factor out a 2. And since that leading coefficient doesn't have anything to do with the constant at the end, I'm only going to factor the 2 out of these first two terms. So I'm left with an x squared from the first term. And then 4x factoring out a 2 would give me a plus 2x. And from here I'm just going to close this parentheses and put my plus 5 outside. And from here, I can complete the square on the quadratic inside the parentheses. Completing the square means I take half of this second coefficient. Half of 2 is 1. Square it. 1 squared is 1. So I want to add 1 inside here. This will make what's inside the parentheses a perfect square. But importantly, I can't just go around adding 1 without correcting for the fact that I just added 1. And in fact, since the 2 is outside, I actually just added 2 because that 2 would be multiplied by the 1. Adding 2 to this right-hand side, to keep things in balance, I would also need to subtract 2 from that right-hand side. Once again, I added 2 and I took 2 away. So that keeps everything balanced. I still have just my g of x on the left-hand side. My 2 coefficient is still outside, but since this is now a perfect square, I can write it as x plus 1 quantity squared, and then outside of that, 5 minus 2 would be a plus 3. I now have standard form. In standard form up here, I know that h is what is being subtracted from x. So what's being subtracted from x is minus 1. H is minus 1. K is what's being added afterwards. So k is 3. H is minus 1. K is 3. The coordinate hk, or negative 1, 3, is our vertex.